Hey, today we're going to be making our own custom Skybox using Unreal Engine. Um, this will work for any project you have currently, or if you want to create a new project, go ahead. I'm in a blank project right now. You don't need any starter content or any outside things for this to work. We're going to do it all just from scratch here using Unreal's engine content. So to access that, we're going to go to Settings and Show Engine Content. Some people don't know this, but they do have under Engine Sky here. We're going to start with this BP Sky Sphere. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just drag this to my normal content folder and create a copy. And we're going to do all our editing from this. So we can rename it. If you want, just do tutorial sky for now, and then pop this open so it comes up. Alright, so basically what we're going to be doing is creating all of our sky and lighting that would normally be found here in this one blueprint. So right now we just have a sky sphere, which is just a static mesh with this material on it. So first what we're going to need to do is add a directional light to be our sun here. So go ahead and add components there. I name it sun. And we shouldn't need to change any settings right now, and we'll do all this later. And then we're going to go into our construction script, which is where all this will be changed. So this blueprint they have set up has a reference to a directional light that would normally be used. But since we want to do it all in this blueprint, including directional light, what we're going to need to do is replace this in their code. So what you can do is right click, find references, and we want to replace all these with our new sun we just created. So you double click that to quickly find all of the references. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in my sun and start replacing these. So you can see here that we need the rotation and the light color for this function here. So I'm just going to do get relative rotation and replace all the references to that, and I can go ahead and delete these old ones. We don't need that. And then we also need the light color. So I'm going to grab that. Sorry, from the sun. Grab the light color and replace that here. And then we can delete that as well. And that should be it for this function. And then we go into this one, and we'll want to do the same here. Sun get relative rotation. Oops, replace that. Replace that there. And then replace it here as well. And then we need one for the light color. And I believe that's all of them. To double check, we can right click on this again, find references. Yep, that's all of them. And then we can go ahead and just delete this because we don't need that anymore. Compile, save. Alright, so that's all good now. So the first thing we want to do is we want to give ourselves a way to control the position of the sun, because they do those functions we just changed deal with updating the mesh of the sky sphere. So I'll go ahead and show you that in a bit, but since we've got that covered, what we want to do is get a way to control the sun's position. I like to do that with a time of day float. You can do it really however you want, but I've found this to work the best for me. So we're going to create a new float called time of day. And then we're going to make it instance editable and expose on spawn. And we can give it a range of 0 to 24. So that's how many hours are in the day. We could give it a default of 10 or whatever you want. We're going to drag that in. So what we want this to do is in the construction script, we want it to change the sun's position. So we do set relative rotation, and we can split this struct to give us each of the rotation axes. We can drag all this to the side for now. So what we want to do is take our time of day, divide by 24, so this will give us about a percentage of the day, really. And then we're going to multiply this by 360, because that's how many degrees of rotation we have. And then we're going to add 90 to it, because that's the offset we need to get this working correctly. And that's going to control our Y of our sun. And then we can create another another variable here. This is going to be, I'm going to call this sun rotation. You can call it whatever you want. This is going to be our Z rotation. And this one, I usually set it, I give it a value range of 0 to 1 usually. Again, you can do it however you want. And then instance editable expose on spawn again, so we can change it in our editor. So we're going to take this, and since we did 0 to 1, I'm just going to do a multiply of 360. And that's going to be our Z rotation. And then we can go ahead and plug all this up and see how it looks so far. So we're going to drag this new blueprint tutorial sky into our scene. Zero it out. And so now we have our beautiful sky sphere in here. And we have our directional lights. And we have our two... oh, I forgot to change the default value of this. Obviously it can't be 10. So we have our two variables we just created here. Our time of day, let's find our sun. So now our time of day slider should control our sun's height in the sky. And then our sun rotation will change which direction it's coming from. I'm going to add a cube in here for us just to make this easier to look at. Let's put this guy over here. Beautiful. So we can see this a little better here. Click back on our sky, time of day, all that's lovely, and then our sun rotation. So you can see that the functions that come base with this do change the sky mesh too, so you can see how it fades from a day sky to a night sky pretty nicely there. All based on the sun's rotation. So there's a few things that I like to change from here. If you're happy with this, then you can stop the video here. But one thing you'll notice is when your sun goes behind or under your land here, a lot of the times if you don't have anything blocking the light from the bottom, you don't have any back-facing planes here, you can see your sun still shines through the land, which obviously we don't want. So one of the ways to fix that is to add a new function that will change the sun's intensity throughout the day. So we're going to create a new function, and I'm going to call it time to intensity. So this is going to take in the time of day variable, and it's going to output an intensity for us. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new float variable again and call it sun intensity. And this is going to be our max actually let's create a new one because I don't want to give it any range. So this is going to be our max intensity that we want on our sun. So currently we have it set to 10, so I'm going to give that as the default value. We can change this if we mark it as instance out of 1 exposed on spawn. We can change this later if we want. But this is going to be our max sun intensity. So we're going to take our time here, and you can mess with this and get it to a spot that you want, but what I've found to work best is to start fading out the intensity around the 17-hour mark, and then at the 7-hour mark is when I want it to, that's when I want it to be at its full intensity, and then other than that I want to fade it out. So how we can start is when our time that we give it is greater than 17, we're going to branch. So if it's greater than 17, we want to start fading it out. So we can create a I like to do it through a map range. So we can do, this takes our time, which is going to be between 17 and 24, because that's what we've allowed it to be with our time. And then we want our output to be between 1 and 0. So at 17 it'll be 1, and at 24 it'll be 0, and it'll interpolate between that, depending on the time we put in. It'll interpolate between 1 and 0, and it'll output it here. So we can go ahead and clamp this. Oops, wrong one. We want clamp floats between 0 and 1. So this will be our percentage of intensity we want between 0 and 1. So what we're going to do is then multiply this by our sun intensity, and this will give us our output. So if it's greater than 17, it'll map it between 1 and 0, multiply that by the sun intensity, and give us our new intensity. And so we also want to do this for the morning as well. So we're going to do when the time is less than, let's say 7. And if you want to change it later, you obviously can. So if it's not greater than 17, we'll check if it's less than 7, and if it is, we're going to do another one of these map range clamps. We're going to take in our time, and then this time it's going to be between 0 and 7. And then out, we want it to increase now from 0. So we're going to do 0 as A and then 1 as B. So at 7 it'll be our full intensity, and at 0 it'll be 0 intensity. And then again we can just take this, duplicate it, because we're going to have the same thing happening here. Plug that in there. And then if it's not greater than 17, if it's not less than 7, we just want it to return its full intensity, so we can just do this right here. Beautiful. Alright, compile, save that, and then we're going to go back to our construction script and then just drop in this new function we made, and then we're going to give it the, drag this up, we're going to oh sorry, I don't want that. We're going to give it the time of day right here, and then we're going to get our sun, and we're going to do set intensity and just plug in that output from that function and hook all this up. Now let's see what we get. Alright, so we click on our BP tutorial Sky, and let's just see, go down and see as we get lower, closer to 0, it'll fade out and eventually go pitch black. And then we can go the other way, and as it gets to 0, or 24 I should say, it fades to black, which is exactly what we want. However, one thing that you'll notice is it's not quite fading out fast enough. Like, it doesn't get pitch black until we hit 0, but in reality you'd get dark as soon as the sun went over the horizon. So what we can do there is go back to our time to intensity function, and we can set our ranges to beyond the clamp so it'll max out faster. So what I usually do is I set, instead of my outrange being 0, we can set it to -1.5 on both of these. So this way it'll hit 0 quicker. Oh, I bet. I want it here, -1.5 on the outrange. So it'll hit, so since it's returning closer to -1.5, it'll clamp it out and just output 0. So let's see how that looks. Now if we start going higher in the time, you can see it stays dark until we get a little higher, and you can mess with this and dial it in exactly how you want. You'd see it's maybe a little too soon, but it's definitely a lot better. So you can dial this in further, but it's a lot closer to what we want. So I'm gonna leave that for now, and you can make your changes as desired. And then again, since we made this sun intensity variable public, we can change it here too. So if we wanted less intensity, we can do this, and then this will also work perfect. We can change this however we feel like it. Alright, so that's pretty much the basics for what I wanted to show you as far as customization goes. What I also like to do in this blueprint is add some other basic lighting things just so I have it all in one place. So I'll tend to add like my atmosphere in, and this comes with its whole host of settings as well you can play with, and we won't go into all this in this video. I'm just showing you some of the stuff I tend to do. Add in a height fog, you can add in skylight, whatever you want, and that'll all be put in here. So you just have it in this one neat tiny little blueprint here, and then you can go ahead and change all these however you feel. One thing I also tend to do is add in you can add in a moon in here as well, so I can show you how to do that real quick. Set that up, just create a new directional light, and this is obviously going to be a lot darker. You can throw in a different color or something like this, and again you want to dial all this in however you want later on. And then we can plug all this in to exactly how we did the sun, pretty much just like on an opposite sort of timeline. And we can set up the rotations as well however we want. Something like this, just because I know people are probably gonna be curious. And we can give it the same variables here. We can obviously add new variables if we want, and we can give it basically flop the time of day if we wanted to, or you could set up a rotation however you feel necessary, or you could just put in a static, something like that. And then you can see now when we kick it all the way down, we'll still have our nice little moonlight here. And you could also, this also comes with a host of other settings that you could change, like, I tend to lower the cloud opacity at night. You can do that in a function. However you want, or just change these manually. You can also change the cloud speed here if you're feeling like it. Get some cool effects going on. Star brightness, change all that. And then you have all your settings for other ones too. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how you set up your own custom Skybox in Unreal. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or ideas for other stuff you want me to make videos on and talk about. Any of that would be very appreciated. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. See you guys in the next one.